You knew this was coming, folks. If you're a fan of the channel, the Twitch channel, this was coming. And for better or worse, I'm going to take an honest, critical look at everything that happened with Andromeda. After having played through it, after having enjoyed and not enjoyed a lot of certain things, I'm going to do a spoiler-free review here. There are not going to be any actual spoilers in this, in its entirety. However, if you feel like hearing me talk about some of the stuff is going to give things away, or going to give away certain emotions, feelings, concepts, skip to the last minute of this video. I will be giving a score and a price you should buy it at. Skip to the last minute. Otherwise, enjoy the review. It's going to be a long one. Now, let's look at what's good with Andromeda, because there are things I liked, things I didn't like, and then things that happened with the community as a reaction to Andromeda that I had issue with. So we're going to talk about all three of those things. First off, the combat and the multiplayer kind of tied in together. The combat is solid. They were able to improve on Mass Effect 3's more active, more vibrant combat environment, add in a lot of new abilities, add in the ability to customize your character to an impressive extent, to make the weapons feel solid, to make them feel real, unique, to make them feel like they each did their own thing, and that to a certain extent at least, most of them were incredibly useful in their own ways as long as you knew how to use them correctly. Now, yeah, some guns better than others, but no gun out there, save for one or two, were truly useless. And most of those that didn't feel solid were some of the starter guns that were meant to feel a little less good and more, okay, this is the baseline. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that in a big way. They did a great job with the combat. Now, I did have issue with the profiles, the combat profiles, especially when it came to weapon weight and trying to switch between a weapon-based build and a biotic or ability cooldown-based build, in which things didn't always mesh correctly. Oh well. If that's my biggest complaint about the combat system, they did a good job. So that's where I stand with the actual combat itself, as well as the multiplayer. The leveling up feels solid, the item gain feels good. Some people are complaining it's, a money grab, it's a pay to win. It's not competitive, it's not pay to win. If you want to dump a lot of money into it and get a lot of chests, okay, you start doing gold a little bit sooner. Oh well, I've put less than, 30 hours into the multiplayer, I'm already in silver. With at least one character, and that's what matters. Oh well, so what? The multiplayer feels good. It feels like the advancement they put into it is solid. The item acquisition, it takes time, but it's rewarding. And that's what matters. That's really what matters. So that's great. The RPG and conversation system, I felt was an improvement. I was really iffy on them removing Paragon and Renegade, but it works. It feels like you can put a lot more character into your writer. And as you make certain choices, as you keep taking certain options, your writer seems to change a little bit with each choice. It feels unique. It really feels like through certain conversation options, you can make your writer act the way you really want her to, or him to. It was very rewarding. And then the RPG, like I said, while the inventory system and the item system was kind of shit, the actual acquisition of skill points, how you're able to customize your writer, not just physically, but through the skill system, good. Very, very good. I liked the fact that you could switch points over here, you could switch points over there, you could use biotic abilities and combat abilities if you wanted to. I had my writer set up to do a lot of tech combos and be really good with guns at the same time, and the fact that I had the control over my character to do that and really make it feel like, okay, I'm gonna fine-tune this character into a machine of death when I need her to be. That felt rewarding. And when you want to put an RPG system together that allows that kind of customizability, that's exactly what you're aiming for in this kind of game. The fact that you can really make that happen is good. Other things that I liked. the graphics, although not the character graphics, more of the terrain, the environment, vehicles, buildings, a lot of those graphics I thought were solid. They were definitely a 2017 grade of graphics. Now you may argue maybe it doesn't look the best, maybe it could look a little better on lower settings. I played it on Ultra personally, so I got a very good view of everything. I felt it was solid. There were some great vistas, a lot of great views, some really beautiful terrain. There were a few moments where I just back in the chair, holy butts, this is great! There were some moments that just took my breath away with those graphics. And then some choice situations in the game. There were some situations, especially with Drac, especially with PB, Vetra. There were some moments in the game that I'm just like, oh, heart, keep going. Heart, keep going. Oh, that hurts. Wow. It was really good to see me actually starting to invest in some of these characters, which I struggled with a lot of the time. However, Drac's moments especially made me feel like this is a character I need to connect with and hold on to and be there for as we go through this adventure. That's exactly what you need in a good RPG, to feel that tie to a couple of these characters, like you would actually go out of your way for them. You would want your character to be going out of their way to make sure they were happy, they were safe. That's exactly what you need. That's the good. That's the good. Let's talk about the not so good. Let's talk about the not so good. The facial animations. I cannot explain to you why they're so bad. I know they're bad. However, there are people more qualified than myself to explain them. I've tweeted out a couple YouTube videos on the Rob and Dan Twitter saying this right here. This is why the facial animations are screwed up. It has a lot to do with the eyes. It has a lot to do with how stiff the faces are, especially these regions and these regions. It has a lot to do with a lack of animations at certain times, or incorrect emotional animations at certain times, where they're almost inappropriate or nonsensical. I cannot explain it properly though, so please go over to the Rob and Dan Twitter and look through the different YouTube videos I've tweeted out of people who can explain it much better than I can. Please. Also, there are some cinematic, camera, and conversational graphical issues. And what I mean by that, cinematic. There are a lot of in-game cinematics or non-pre-rendered cutscenes that are actually in the in-game engine itself that are busted. There's one flying away from the thing on Vold, where an explosion was supposed to happen. And it stops. And it just sits there. And you fly off victorious, epically, and the explosion's just sitting there. You can go back on the Twitch page and actually see this happen. It throws off the entire mood. It's not good. That's just one good example. There are a couple others that I noticed. Gun glitches where characters aren't holding guns appropriately. The most famous one, obviously, the one with PB holding the gun backwards as she shoots a remnant. There are a couple camera and conversational graphical issues where people are facing the wrong direction as they're trying to talk to you, and they're talking to you as if you are over there, but you're clearly over here, but you're over here, and the person is just really interested in talking to you over here. And they'll just do this for no reason. Or they'll wander off. They'll wander off. Literally, the character will just wander off. The character will just wander off. The character will wander off as you're talking to them. Why? 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 It's nonsensical. It's ridiculous. And then with the camera itself, at times the camera will be positioned behind you, so you can't even see the person you're talking to. Or it'll be positioned so you are on, like you see where the camera cuts out here, you're gonna be right here, and the person you're talking to is right here, and there's a whole load of blank space right here. Why? It's a lot of random camera nonsense, mostly because the positioning during a lot of the conversations is random. And BioWare never went through and fixed where the camera should be during certain conversations to make things feel important or cinematic. Now, there are a couple other graphical glitches as well, mostly with character skins. Obviously, it doesn't help with the facial animations if a character's skin doesn't look correct, and it can generate a whole load of issues. There are also some gun skins that aren't skinned appropriately, or they have glitches in their actual graphics themselves or the model. And again, these are kind of things that QA should have caught, as well as the facial animations and the conversational camera stuff. These are things QA should have caught, and it's clear signs that maybe BioWare didn't put this game through QA, or rushed to get this game out and didn't have time to put it through QA appropriately. The writing and characters in the game, most of them were simply bad. Addison is probably the worst of these, Liam as well, Cora also. I don't care about these people, I don't like these people, I don't want to deal with them, and not in a, oh, he's a bad seed, I need to take him down. Oh, but he's in the system, I can't. I have to work against him. Not in that way, because that's exciting, that's energizing, that's Director Tan, where it's like, well, he's the director. Shit, I can't just shoot him. Fuck. Because that, even Director Tan makes me feel like, alright, I gotta prove this guy is a douche. I have to do it. I have to work towards that. So, the fact that there are so many characters in the game, and this is a writing across the board with missions and different locations and a lot of flavor text as well, it's so dull and poorly written, and there's not a lot of feedback, good or bad, that I get from a lot of them. You're supposed to feel something when you interact with a character, or get a tough mission done, or get to a place that just blows your mind. Your character should probably say something that reflects that. And there are so many times where the writing and the characters let you down. And it sucks. And that ties into the mission system as well. The mission system many times feels like an MMO. Okay, go here, talk to this person. You go there, talk to that person, and nothing happens. It's blank, it's dead. There isn't any actually thing that comes from it, and it sucks. Many times you have situations where you complete a mission and you don't get any reward other than, oh, 400 credits pop up on the side. You just see a little thing that pops up on the side and said, oh, 400 credits. You really don't get any interaction. You don't get any story. Why did these satellites crash? For example, a mission on one of the first planets you go to, you get a side mission, all these satellites crashed. You go there, you ping them, and you don't get anything out of it except credits. You don't get any story. You don't get any background information. If these satellites are crashing, or if this thing is happening, or this thing is happening, I want to know why. I want background on them. What were they doing? Why were they there in the first place? What was the point of them? You get nothing. That's the problem. There are a lot of issues with the inventory screen. I don't think I need to go into detail on that. The inventory system is terrible. It's Mass Effect 1 bad. And although a lot of people like the inventory system for Mass Effect 1, I'm not one of those. I believe Mass Effect 2 did it much better. Much better. I don't necessarily like the tiering of weapons, because just like Mass Effect 3, You can upgrade your weapons from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up through 10, I think. And it's simply not enjoyable. It makes weapons feel a lot more trivial at the lower levels. And while yes, it's fun to get the upgrades and make new weapons and add new things onto them, it doesn't really feel worthwhile half the time. It trivializes a lot of it. I'd rather weapons just have one level, they do some certain thing, you get it at this point in time, go ahead. I liked that system a lot more, especially how they did it with Mass Effect 2. Weapons felt more important then. The loading screens, the travel and loading screens, is a minor issue, but it does waste a lot of time. I know they're hiding the load screens. I kind of like the load screens in Mass Effect 2 better, personally. They felt a lot more as if it's building up the drama a little bit, especially with the music, how it got kind of dark and low-key, and you saw a lot of mechanical and digital things happening. I liked that a lot more. So I know they were just trying to hide the load screens. It's a minor issue, but the amount of distance you have to travel and time you have to wait, no one likes waiting. No one likes sitting and waiting. And it sounds silly. I thought it was a negative. I thought, you know, exploring the galaxy is fun. The amount of time I have to take for these load screens when it's just... No. And the last issue I had with the game, and again, this is one of the more minor ones, but the enemies were incredibly generic. And I'm not going to go into detail with this because, again, no spoilers whatsoever. None. No, zero, zip, nada. However, in Mass Effect 2 especially, and again, I reference Mass Effect 2 a lot with this because I think it did it really right. There were a lot of named enemies. Even if they didn't do anything special, they had a different name. They had their own unique personality. Maybe they had a line or two they said. It was really small. It was really small to do. Maybe it wasn't even a different voice actor or actress. It was still a name to throw on there. And it showed, okay, these people actually live here. These people exist here. These people are operating the station. These people are doing something here. And you'll see notes from these people. You'll see information logs. You see all this stuff from these people to show, yeah, they actually are here. And it feels real. It feels solid. And you don't get that ever, except for 3 or 4 times in the entire game for Andromeda. And it feels terrible. It feels like I'm just continuously killing generic enemies. I'm killing generic enemies. I'm just killing hordes of generic enemies. Okay, sounds good. More hordes of generic enemies, great, fantastic. It didn't feel right. So that's the game itself. Now, the community had a lot of negative interactions and reactions to the game itself. The first one, the big interaction that I thought was ridiculous. There were a lot of personal attacks on game developers, individual game developers, because of the facial animation thing. This is not something they would do purposely. This is probably Electronic Arts' effect on the company, forcing them to get it out at the time they originally stated, even though it should have been pushed back. That's not on the devs themselves. I can tell you, game developers like putting out really good products for the most part. There's gonna be some people who cheat. There's gonna be a few people out there who's like, you know what, we just want to fuck people over. There are gonna be those people. That's fine. But trying to actually threaten the lives of developers individually because of a game, that's not okay. It's a video game. Why would you threaten to kill someone over a video game? No! Priorities, people. No! It's absolutely inappropriate, and it's stupid. Speaking of stupid, a lot of people for some reason are blaming the facial animation thing as being an active choice. because BioWare hired a lot of social justice warriors? I don't even understand this idea. I don't even get why this is a reason. This not only attacking people for having a certain political leaning over a video game, not only is that stupid, this is not something that anyone who believes in social justice would agree to in the first place. And people are up in arms over this, saying that, okay, it's a liberal leftist agenda? Unless I missed a couple emails, or a lot of people I know missed a couple emails. No. Why? This is a clear sign of corporate influence on a game developer. This is not some crazy political agenda to make FemWriter look a certain way, or act a certain way, or be animated a certain way. That's ridiculous. Keep politics out of video games in this specific way, especially when it comes to blame and anger. If you're trying to spotlight a certain specific thing by making a game to talk about it, that's good. That's really good. Yes. If you're trying to say, oh, these faces look like shit because social justice warriors wanted them to be. What? Are you trying to sound stupid? No. It's ridiculous. So that reaction, people who say, I've seen some very intelligent people say that kind of stuff, and I kind of write them off a little bit in my mind. I love to hear opinions, even from those people still to this day, but the fact that they're going to stoop to that kind of level, it makes me wonder why they stopped and thought, no, this is the right answer, instead of asking better questions about the actual corporate structure of Electronic Arts itself. Why it was released at this time. Why they priced it at the prices that they set Mass Effect Andromeda 2. Now, speaking of the actual release and the price, let's talk about reviews. Both positive and negative reviews. Going over to Metacritic, a vast majority, and this is hard for me to talk about, a vast majority of critic reviews across all three versions of Andromeda are in the positive. Only the PS4 version is yellow with a 73. On PC, it's rated at a 76. I might add 2 points higher. 2 points higher than Skyrim. Higher than Skyrim? No! Whereas the user scores across all three copies of Mass Effect Andromeda on Metacritic, 4.5 for the Xbox version, 4.6 for the PS4 version, 4.7 for the Electronic Arts version. And I am especially disappointed in the review, if I can find it here. Is it under Xbox? Here it is. The review from Forbes for Andromeda, 85. Now, the person who did it, and I'm not going to call him out, we've actually interviewed before on Rob and Dan. And he is a very brilliant, intelligent young man. Now, I'm not going to get anyone down for liking Andromeda. If you enjoy Andromeda, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I am so happy you enjoyed it. However, by putting up a very important critical review on a website that's looked at as much as Forbes, with it being as positive, almost blindingly as positive, I kind of think you're lying to your customers. And that's the big thing about all of this. I feel like at some point in time, Electronic Arts has been dishonest about the Mass Effect franchise. Not just during Mass Effect 3, but now during Andromeda. About the actual product we are getting. And now, obviously not in the same way, with the ending to Mass Effect 3, they did directly lie to us, saying that there were a certain number of individual endings that we would get with 3. In this situation, this is more of a unfairness to the actual developer. Again, I fully believe that BioWare was not given time to QA Mass Effect Andromeda. And that's why we see a lot of these bugs and glitches. If the facial animation thing, if the camera issues hadn't been in there, I would be much more friendly to the game. So, in the last minute here, let's go ahead and actually put a score on it. And yeah, I know my camera's starting to screw up. Let's put an actual score to the game itself. It's tough to do. When it comes to price, I would say Mass Effect Andromeda would be great. If you can get it on any kind of discount whatsoever, any kind of discount, 20%, 15%, 33% off, go for it. Definitely worth it at that price. At full price, at the $70 that it was gifted to me at, glad I didn't pay my own money for it, otherwise I would be pissed. At the $70 it was gifted to me at, no way in hell. It is not, under any circumstances, worth $70. The issues that come with it, the complications, unacceptable. A score, an actual score, I'd give it a 6.2. Maybe a 6.1. I don't want to give it a fail. I do not, under any circumstances, want to give it a fail. But it is damn close to a fail, especially with some of the issues. Alright, that's the Mass Effect review. Thank you for joining me here. I know we don't use this YouTube channel too often, but it is good when we need to post up things like this. And sorry for the camera, I'm recording it a bit later than I wanted to. This is tough for me to do more than anything because I really wanted to like this game, and I wanted to have something to look up to after the end of Mass Effect 3. So thank you all for being here. Make sure you check out the Twitter, twitter.com/RobinDan. Make sure you check out the Twitch, twitch.tv/RobinDan. Make sure you check all our links on the pages. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night now. Bye-bye.